Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Kansas Moonshot Podcast, where we are shining the spotlight on amazing things happening in schools across the state. Whether you're one of the Mercury or Gemini schools launching some amazing redesign plans, or a teacher trying to do something a little different, I want to share your story. The goal is to celebrate the awesomeness all around us. In this episode, I interviewed Beth Dean about how Santa Fe Trail Middle School is using an entire block of class each week to give students some great experiences, elective teachers the opportunity to meet with specific groups of students, and all teachers the opportunity to extend and enrich the learning the students are doing throughout the week. Check it out. Okay. So, if we could just start off, just introduce yourself and then tell people what school you're from. And
Okay. My name is Beth Dean, and I teach theater, and I'm the drill team coach at Santa Fe Trail Middle School.
All right. And so we're here to talk about flex time. So we have block days on Wednesdays and Thursdays. And so what is the purpose of that flex time? What are teachers using that for?
Flex time kind of came from a little bit of an offshoot of another process that we have called WIN time, which is really a time for core teachers to pull in to do some remediation and extension. And the elective teachers wanted to have that same amount of time with students, as we should. And we decided to use on our even block day, we have an open block because we only have 7 hours. So we only have a 2, 4, and 6 on even block days. And so we had this extra chunk of time, and so we give that to this flex time. And the idea is really a couple of different things. One is for elective teachers to be able to pull students to work on missing work, make up tests if they were gone, or quizzes. We have several, obviously, elective classes where there's labs taking place or big projects being completed that the supplies are really only here at school, and so they really have to complete those projects here in the building because they can't take that stuff home with them. So we're using that time for them to make up those labs and projects. It's also a time for our performing arts groups to meet and have some extra rehearsal time, or extra just work on big upcoming performances. My costume crew met today and we pulled a bunch of costumes for our upcoming fall play. And then the other aspect of this is what if a student doesn't necessarily need to be pulled for an elective teacher? That is an opportunity for the core teachers to be able to have students in their classroom to do some extensions on lessons that maybe they don't have time to do during the normal school day or their normal scope and sequence of their class, but they want to kind of dive in deep to some of those really cool aspects of their curriculum, and they have that time to do so in flex.
So you're telling me that kids can't carry a sewing machine home, a giant sewing machine? No, that's not going to work?
I mean, they certainly could. I don't necessarily know if it's recommended.
Okay.
Yes.
So basically, core teachers get priority on Monday, Tuesday, Friday,
yes.
And then on this Thursday time, elective teachers get priority.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to work out really well. I've been amazed by how organized it's been. I would say the elective teachers are definitely setting a high bar for organization of schedules, and you've kind of been facilitating that.
Yes.
And so how have you kind of facilitated that as far as getting everybody on the same page?
Well, our school purchased a package from sked.com. I think some people call it Sketch, but it's whichever. sked.com. And I don't know how much that was, but it was a big package that we purchased for a disclosed amount of time that we have it. And that's the main system that we use. That's how the kids sign up. They each have an account, and every Friday they go in and they sign up for next week's flex time. But before, there's some organization that has to happen a little bit before that. So elective teachers, if they are pulling specific students, so like let's say our band next week needs to pull to prep for a pep assembly. So he has emailed, we picked one elective teacher to be kind of the master schedule person, and that happens to be me. And so teachers that need to pull for specific students, they email me the list of students they need that they're requiring, and then I enter their session on Sched, and then I pull all of those students into those sessions myself. And then if you're an elective teacher who doesn't necessarily need to pull a certain amount of kids or certain students, they just want to have an open session, like our team sport. We have a couple of team sports sessions, but it's open to all grades. And so they enter those sessions themselves. So it's a little bit of a kind of, everybody has their hands in the pot, but yet I'm kind of the master schedule. Like I am the one who has all of the required kids on kind of a spreadsheet of my own that I can kind of keep track of if maybe the choir teacher needs this student, but also the band teacher needs this student. And we kind of have that conversation. I facilitate that conversation between the two of who gets first priority that week. Well, band has a performance coming up, whereas choir, it's just a practice for a performance coming up in a month. Well, then band would take that priority. Or if it's a student that needs to make up work, and as opposed to a student that same student wants to go play team sports, well, they need to go make up the work first. So that's how we kind of decide who gets preference. But Sched.com is really where we are organized. It's kind of the big hub that we organize all the information, and then the kids can see whether they've been signed up for something already or if they need to sign up for sessions, and that's all available to them there. And
do you have an official title? I mean, Queen of Flex Day, I think would be a good one.
Yes, or Queen of Sched, or Sched Police, or something.
A tiara. You need like what's that thing? A scepter or a wand or something?
Some sort of a magic. If I could have a magic wand that
there we go.
would allow me to magically make sure that all students get signed up in the correct time frame, that would be fantastic. But yeah, it's just I love, as artistic as I can be, the left side of my brain really does kick in when it comes to spreadsheets and all this data configuration kind of stuff, and it's actually kind of fulfilling a little love, a secret love of mine that I don't get to do in my everyday normal theater classes. So
Well, I think it's also great too, because I think a lot of people appreciate that because they don't want to take that on. I know I'm one of those people that if someone wants to run with the organization of something, please help me.
Yeah.
And I think that's, everybody's really appreciative that you've taken the reins of it.
Yeah.
So what are some of the other examples? You said that you had some of your theater kids coming in to do costumes. What are some other examples of things that people are doing?
Well, I brought a list here of some of the sessions that we've had in the past. And like this particular week, actually today, we just had a flex session today, and some of the required sessions that we actually pulled specific students for. We have fall sports going on right now, and so this has been a phenomenal time for the coaches to pull in their teams to watch video and just discuss the information for the week. Like, this is where the game is. This is when your parents need to have you. And it doesn't have to take up time during their practice when they really would like to be, going over plays and things like, and actually practicing. Some of that team minutia stuff kind of gets in the way, but we have to get it to the students, so they've been using that time. So our football teams met, our volleyball teams met. We had our chamber orchestra, which is kind of a elite orchestra group that usually in years past have had to meet at 7:00 in the morning, which is kind of hard for some of our students to be able to get here that early because they ride the bus. And so she's able to do that during their flex time. We have a group called Hispanic Leadership, where we have an outside person come in and work with some of our Hispanic students on how to be leaders, and they are meeting during this time. Our choir teacher did some recordings for some upcoming district choir auditions that she was able to do, so she doesn't have to do that after school, which again is sometimes hard for some of our students who ride the bus. And then so those were some of our, they gave me a list. I put it into the master schedule. Some open electives that we've come up with. So these are elective teachers, because every teacher in the building has to have some students. So why wouldn't you want to pick something that was kind of in your wheelhouse? Yeah. And so we've had some teachers pull for specific just work sessions. Like, hey, are you feeling a little behind on your art project? Come on in and work on it for a little while. And that several elective teachers are doing that, like art, our foods classes. our tech classes, our typing. I mean, because desktop computers nowadays, we don't have them at home as much anymore. And so our computer teacher loves the time to be able to just have students come in and just work on typing skills. And then also they can work on stuff that they are missing for her class or falling a little bit behind on. And then what one of my favorite things to do every week is look and see what the core teachers are offering, because it sounds really kind of fun. Their sessions they're extending stuff that they're already doing in their class that they might not have gotten a chance to do normally in their curriculum because they run out of time. And so we had 1 week, I know one of our 6th grade social studies teacher did kind of a cave drawing activity. I don't know if she would have been able to do that in her normal curriculum time, but she was able to do that. We just some of our math teachers like to pull out those brain games and those math games. Some of our teachers like to just do read alouds. Like just reading out loud to kids. A couple of our history teachers are doing debunking history myths. And so that sounds cool to me. Celebrating Native American Day. We had a teacher who wants to share that information about that celebration, that day of celebration. And so that was really cool. We have our K's Club meeting during that time. You did a garage band music creation, which sounds really cool. And
that was really just based on student interest. I noticed, when the kids weren't working on something and in the hallway and every chance they got, they were messing around with garage band. I thought, well, let's have it focused and let's have a time where they can actually explore it and then talk with other kids who have the same interest.
Well, that was one of the suggestions. I sent out a list of some suggestions just to kind of get the conversation starting. And that was one of the things, find an app that you think maybe even fits in your content area and just let the kids explore with it and see what's there. I could pull in kids for iMovie, and we could create some skits based on that, because teaching theater, I would love to be able to do. There's kids here that want to write. They're always coming to me with oh, you want to see this movie we filmed, or the script? I'm writing a script, and this would be an excellent time. There's some great script writing apps out there, and I could get them access to that so that they could just write a script in that during that time. So lots of great things, and it's just every week seems like there's just a whole nother brand new set of offerings, and there's something drastically different going on in every single classroom in our building during that time, which is really cool.
Well, and this is what are 5th or 6th time doing it, and so I feel like each time the sign-up's gone easier. Each time the ideas for that time has just gotten steadily better and better. So and I think this has definitely been a building process. So by next semester, I mean, it's just going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, I feel like I'm already thinking 10 flexes away from here. I'm going to wait. We'll do that in December, and I'll do that in November. And so there's definitely it's only once a week. And so once they happen, it's you're already starting to think about what can I do next week? Or, we need more time. These kids were really into this. How can I give them more time with this? So it's definitely been a work in progress, but I think it slowly gets easier every time. So,
and one thing I don't think we mentioned, I can't remember, so it's set up with 2 40-minute chunks.
Yes.
So there's 2 sessions. If a teacher needs a double session, needs it to be longer, they can sign up for both sessions.
Yes.
But that gives kids even more options. They have 2 options to choose from every Thursday. And so sometimes if a teacher is pulling first session, they may get a choice in the second one, so they're still getting that choice.
They are, and we have a lot of, especially in the performing arts, we have a lot of kids that are doubling up on they're either in choir and in instrumental music, or they're in theater and choir, and so the reason we split the time into 2 40-minute chunks was really to serve that purpose, because we wanted to make sure that the kids that are involved in multiple things get the opportunity to be involved in all of those things and not just be tied down to an 85-minute it does happen, because especially with combined rehearsals for the band, he needs all 85 minutes to be able to set up, play, rehearse, and tear down. So it does happen, just not terribly often, but it really has. We've had some parents even say that they're so appreciative of this time, because they're in their child's everyday schedule. They don't have time to take a theater class, or they don't have time to take this particular elective class, but this gives them that opportunity. So they're getting to try even more things than their schedule allows. So that's really cool.
So if a teacher's listening to this right now, or a school is listening to this right now, and they want to try this, they've got a time in their schedule for this, what advice would you have on ways to structure it, organize it, just to get going?
I think there's a couple of things that I think you really need to kind of, you have to have the time in your schedule to be able to do this. And then you need to have some sort of a system in place before you even get started of how are we going to organize the kids? Are we going to use, there's many, sched.com is just one of many ways that you could sort kids and they could sign up, but that needs to be kind of at the front of how are we going to even do this logistically? And then, because the rest of it really just comes down to creativity, and then the teachers, just giving the teachers that freedom to create whatever sessions they want within the realm. We have kind of a stipulation of it needs to fit under one of our 3 pillars for redesign, which is social emotional learning, academic, and civic engagement. Most of ours do tend to fall into academic, but we do have some social emotional, like those team sports one that the PE teachers offer. Some of those kids just need to get out and run because it's good for they just need that brain break, and so you have to have that structure in place of how are we going to organize kids, because that's the first question that I think in all of our meetings that we had was, but how are we going to do this? But how are we going to organize kids? How are we going to make sure we know where they are so the office can locate students? So that's kind of like the start. Once you get that, I think the rest of it is just kind of opening the gates for teachers to be creative in what sessions they offer. And then, I think at the beginning when we first started this year, that was kind of almost the hard part when you have literally all the options in front of you. Like, wait, I can do what with this time? Like, I can pull any what? And so I think that maybe offering a giant list of like, here's just some ideas. I remember when I emailed that list out, I think I got more teachers kind of on board with, I can do that with this time. Oh, okay. And so I think I would start with, do we have the time? When are we going to do this? How are we going to organize kids? And then what can we do with this time? Like, what sessions can we offer? And then, even if you can do this just one day, like a quarter, it's kind of like a mini exploration day in a way, almost. And I know you talked about exploration day on one of your podcasts earlier. It's just a little bit of a smaller forum for it. But if you could just try it out once or twice, and just kind of get your feet wet with it. I think it's really cool.
Excellent. Well, thank you for being on the show.
Yeah.
And I will post a link to, if people want to follow you, you've got the theater program on Twitter.
Yeah, right? I do. Yes, SFT Theater. And then I also, my drill team is on Twitter, SFT Storm. And then I am on Twitter, Beth Dean, B Dean SF, I believe. All right.
And I'll put links to all of those so that you can follow all of the amazing things that Beth Dean is doing. All right. So thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
That's it for this episode. For more information about this episode, check out my website, mrstockrocks.com. Also, if you are enjoying this podcast, share it with a friend or colleague. And better yet, give us a review on iTunes. The more reviews you give means the podcast moves higher up on the podcast list, which means more people have the opportunity to hear about the amazing things going on in the state of Kansas. If you know someone doing something awesome in their classroom, let me know about it. I'd love to have them on the show. You can email me at teachlikeaninja@gmail.com or follow me on Twitter at teachlikeaninja. I've been your host, Josh Stock, 6th grade language arts teacher and self-proclaimed awesomeness expert. Until next time, book it forward and be awesome. Bye, guys.